What if I told you that Formula One, a sport already filled with drama, politics, and rivalries, reached a point where the outcome of an entire championship was debated for years to come? A season where controversies weren't just small incidents but central storylines that defined the World Championship? Think back to Alain Prost and Ayrton Senna, whose fierce rivalry not only produced unforgettable racing but also sparked some of the most heated disputes in motorsport history. Today, we're diving into what many fans call the most controversial Formula One season of all time. Formula One has never been free of drama. From disputes between teams to questionable calls by race control, the sport constantly sits on the edge of competition and politics. But while every decade seems to have its controversies, one season in particular stands above the rest. For this story, we'll focus on the season that, to this day, still divides fans and drivers alike, the 2021 Formula One World Championship. Going into 2021, Formula One had a long-standing king, Lewis Hamilton. With 7 world titles, Hamilton was not only tied with Michael Schumacher for the most championships in history, but he was also dominating the hybrid engine era with Mercedes. But then came Max Verstappen. Hungry, fearless, and driving for Red Bull, Verstappen was ready to end Mercedes' reign. What followed was a season-long war, with both drivers producing incredible performances, yet also clashes that went far beyond racing incidents. The stage was set, a generational battle between Hamilton and Verstappen, with every race adding fuel to the fire. From the very start in Bahrain, controversy was already in the air. Verstappen overtook Hamilton late in the race, but race control ordered him to give the position back for leaving the track. It was a call that sparked the first debate of many: consistency in race stewarding. Then came Imola, where both title contenders pushed the limits in wet conditions. The real storm broke at Silverstone. Hamilton and Verstappen went wheel to wheel, neither willing to back down. The two collided at Cops Corner. Verstappen went into the barriers at over 50 G, and Hamilton went on to win the race despite a penalty. Red Bull called it dangerous driving. Mercedes defended it as racing. Fans were split right down the middle, and the war of words only made things worse. If Silverstone was explosive, then Monza was nuclear. After another fierce start, Hamilton and Verstappen collided again, this time ending up on top of each other in the gravel, with Verstappen's car quite literally on Hamilton's head. Stewards ruled Verstappen at fault, giving him a grid penalty. But in the court of public opinion, the debate was endless. Did Verstappen leave Hamilton enough space? Did Hamilton squeeze him too hard? Or was it simply inevitable? What was clear is that this was no longer just racing. It was psychological warfare. Every corner, every maneuver carried championship-level tension. Off track, the season was just as messy. Team bosses Christian Horner and Toto Wolff fought a media war as much as their drivers fought on track. Every weekend, accusations flew: flexible rear wings, track limits, inconsistencies, even tire pressures. The FIA found itself under immense scrutiny. Decisions often felt unclear, and fans began to feel like titles were being influenced by rulings rather than just pure racing. And then came the climax, the Abu Dhabi Grand Prix, the decider. Both Hamilton and Verstappen entered the final race equal on points, something the sport hadn't seen in decades. The race itself played out dramatically. Hamilton led comfortably, seemingly on his way to a record-breaking 8th world title. Verstappen had no answer until the safety car. Nicolas Latifi crashed late in the race, bringing out the safety car with only a handful of laps remaining. What followed would go down as one of the most controversial moments in F1 history. Race director Michael Massey allowed only the lapped cars between Hamilton and Verstappen to unlap themselves, not the entire field, going against the usual procedure. This decision meant Verstappen was right behind Hamilton for a one-lap sprint to decide the championship. On fresher tires, Verstappen made the move, overtook Hamilton, and won his first world title. The reaction? Absolute chaos. Mercedes filed protests, claiming that the rules had not been correctly applied. Fans accused the FIA of manufacturing drama for the show instead of respecting sporting integrity. Even now, years later, the debate hasn't settled. Abu Dhabi 2021 didn't just decide a world title, it shook the very foundations of the sport. Michael Massey lost his role as race director. The FIA reviewed and adjusted safety car procedures. The trust between teams, fans, and governing bodies took a massive hit. For Max Verstappen, it was the beginning of a new era of dominance. For Lewis Hamilton, it was the closest he'd ever come to that elusive 8th championship. And for Formula One as a whole, it was the season that redefined how much controversy the sport could endure. Now, here's an important question. Was 2021 truly the most controversial season ever, or was it simply the most visible in the social media age? Fans of the 90s will point back to 1994 when Schumacher clashed with Damon Hill and the season was filled with tragedy and suspicion. Others might argue that 1989 and 1990 with Senna and Prost's infamous collisions were just as dramatic. But the reason 2021 stands out is that controversies were not secondary. They were central to how the championship was decided. Every big moment was debated, every ruling questioned, and ultimately, a world title was awarded in one of the most disputed circumstances ever seen in motorsport. Formula One is a sport built on risk, rivalry, and sometimes controversy. It's what makes the sport so gripping, so unpredictable, and sometimes so divisive. But for many fans, nothing will match the intensity of 2021, the season where everything was fair game, and the world watched one of the greatest rivalries ever reach its boiling point. So tell me, do you think 2021 was the most controversial F1 season of all time? Or would you give that crown to another year in Formula One history?